This time I'm going to be showing you around the interface of the pattern viewer, and hopefully you enjoy what I'm presenting to you. It's got lots of new features, and I just wanted to show everyone that might be using it. Maybe there's some that are confused as to how to use it, and hopefully this gives you a bit of insight into the application and how it works. Okay, so straight into that, we're going to be going into the web page. It's just a web page, it's free, so go and explore it, and everything on here is free. If you feel that the work I'm doing helps you greatly, saves you a lot of cash, then click that little yellow button in the middle there which says Buy Brent coffee and spend to your heart's content. However, moving on, here is the main one. Pattern viewer is the main one. The other apps are mainly little calculators that assist you in making decisions around certain powder factors or burdens and spacings, and they give you some rules of thumb and those sorts of things. But the pattern viewer, this is the one that I've been working on, and I've always dreamt of creating an application that would assist people in learning blast design and timing, and also that it's free and easy to use. So this you can use on a mobile phone, or you can use it on a iPad or a tablet or a touch sensitive Windows computer or a desktop like I'm doing right now. So if you look around the interface, it's pretty easy to look at. We've got a light and dark mode. Let's go for light this time. And we've got a couple of zoom in and zoom out buttons and a reset view button. Actually, I can see the reflection on my glasses, so I'm going to go for the dark mode. That way you can see my eyes. This choose file button is where you upload your initial file, and you need a file that comprises of several columns and needs to be in a CSV. So let me just see if I've got a file available that I can bring up on the screen and show you right now. We'll just import this. Should have been more prepared. Anyway, this is the file, and as a bare minimum you need 1, 2, 3, 4 columns to start with, and that's the whole ID, the X, the Y, and the Z level. This will just get you points in. If you happen to go and you want the toe points as well, so you want a hole with depth and angle and bearing, then you need to get these 3 points here, which are the toe coordinates. They're a minimum. When you add timing onto it, you will see these 3 columns get filled out with timing related information. Okay, so moving on, let's have a look at the choose file, or better still, and then we can look more into the interface. So let's choose a file, and we'll just pick a blast. Let's see, we'll pick this one here today. We'll open that one up, and here we have a design in there, and we can zoom in, and it might it's certainly nicer on my face, but it's easy to look at when it's in a white background for me, but I'm going to stick with the black. So let me just turn it onto the camera, onto the screen only. So here we have this tool, and what we can see is we have some edit ties functionality. So if there's timing on here, we would be able to modify that, or we can add timing to it. The new features are whole location and whole options, and the whole location and whole options give us the ability to edit a hole. So in this case here, we can certainly want to edit some holes in this blast. I'm going to zoom in on this section because I know where I want them to be edited. I'm going to grab this toe size, and this is going to indicate the size of the hole at the toe, And you can see here it's good for looking at what overlap you have or don't have in a blast. So right now we can see some gaps in the toe where it's underpowered at the toe and underpowered at the toe, and we can see some crowding in here, which is means that it's going to be overpowered a little. Right, so moving on, we see this right now, and we can now have these new options to edit these holes. And so I'm going to turn on the Y or northing edit system, and you can see here that the text is quite a bit large, so I'm just going to scroll down and move the font size a bit smaller so I'm not distracted by it. Let's turn it all the way down, that way we won't have to look at it. All that's saying is, as you can see here, that's the Y location indicated. And as we move on, let's just grab a hole. So we just click on a hole, and now we have that hole selected, and we can move that hole back with the slider. We get 20 meters either side, or 20 units either side of each hole initially on each move. So if we wanted to move it another 20, we would have to unselect it and then reselect it again. And that's just to stop us making bad decisions. But you can see here I am just moving all these holes back to make sure that there's no underpowered toe or overpowered toe, and there's no crowding or ugliness to the blast. And so that's pretty easy. I just adjusted all those holes looking at the toe, and perhaps I want to adjust these ones over this side, so I can turn these on and edit the bearing. And I'm going to move that due north, and we'll select this one, and maybe I'll leave that one, or turn it a little bit more this way. And we're going to bring those holes back, so I'll move this hole back to here. That's pretty good. Actually, we want to turn on the X modification as well, and we'll move it across, and we'll slot it into that hole, into that gap, and try to fill that gap in. Maybe this bearing needs to change as well, so we'll bring it further north, and a bit like that. So it's really just having a play, and there you go, we've moved that hole. This one here, we're going to take this back and modify this again. We're going to pull this back into that area and maybe across so that we're not crowding it too much. And there you have it. We've moved a couple of holes. We've got some holes over this side that might be of interest to us. And let's say that this area here we need to put some angled holes in, but we don't have angled holes. So we're going to modify these, just turn those off. Turn the angle on. I'm going to select this hole here, and as I dial it up, the angle increases. It's displayed also in this little bar here, so if you're having trouble seeing it, and then we can grab the E-stings and drag it back again. So this is really how simple this tool is. I just need to dial it up and dial it back. So really easy to be used on the iPad, the iPhone, with these fields up here, yeah, so that's essentially the new options that we have. We also have a length adjuster here, so let's say we wanted to increase the length of some of these holes, where we could simply do that by selecting the edit length button and grabbing the tool again, and here it tells us that it's 13.1, and we can just dial that up and make the hole longer or shorter. Gonna leave it around the 13 meter mark, and there we have our design adjusted. So we can click that reset tool button there. We can collapse these here, and we're back into looking at what the blast looks like. You can dial that down. You can see here the depths are there, and those all changed. We can see the angles and the dips are all adjusted correctly, and the bearing, and we've changed this whole thing around. You can see our bearings are all there. Then we go to ties, and there's nothing here. So something that I thought was important to note, or something that think is good to educate people on is when you see a little pyramid house kind of icon, that's saying that's an initiation hole. So every hole is an initiation hole in this application, and so they're all starting off at 0. So those little icons in here, they're all they're all the 0 mark, and you can see that by the times. There they are, 0. So they're all going off at the same time at the moment. So what we will be doing is tying in. As we tie in as we connect the holes together, the holes get attributed a firing time, and from that comes a contour. So here we have these tools, and I'm going to turn this font size down a little because you know, I don't like seeing it. And we'll get the ties on, and let's go for it. So I don't know what we're going to pick. Let's pick some 25s, and we'll do some 25s somewhere, or maybe across the face, and 42s coming back maybe, and then some 67, something simple like that. So let's just go for it and tie it in so we can I'm not sure what happened there, but there you go. There's a little bit of a glitch I've got to sort out, but mostly it's fine. There you go. And this application can only have one detonator head per hole, and that's why we don't see these. That's why we don't need an undo button or anything. And as you can see, the times are incrementing up, and we just click away here and complete our tie-up. It's a little annoying that it's a double click, and over time I'm going to work on that to streamline the way you connect. But as you can see, that's what we're doing here, and so I'm just going to tie that in here. It doesn't matter that I tied it in here. We can tie these in, as I said, and there's no mistakes. So what we can do is, once we've decided that we're going to use these holes like this and like this, we can just come back and overwrite the connections. And that's really quite simple. To overwrite the connections, we just put in what our new delay is going to be. And here you can see in this tool, you can pick a color there. There you go. And so now it's just a matter of tying it in this way now, And so you just overwrite these ties when you've had enough of them, and you can just keep tying in. And this often takes a long time with the single click, so I will endeavor to get a path tool sorted out where we look at all the holes in the row, or at least a single click button. And but that will need some thinking about, and I'm pretty happy with where I'm at with this tool, and this has been some I'm really happy with the growth that it's had and the amount of features that it's gained in just a short amount of time. And so that's essentially it. You just adjust, and so you've got unlimited choices for your connectors. You can do whatever you like with those connectors and choose whatever you want to do with it. So perhaps we want to go that way. And see, now we have a problem because we've connected our holes together, but don't worry about that. We just click on another one, and now we're back into it again. So I've just shifted the IP across a little, and that's what we're looking at now. So when you come back in here and you're in Chrome and you want to select another a color that's the same, just select the drop icon, the picker, the color picker, and now you get the exact same color that you had previously. And so there's a feature that's useful. And so we're just sort of like connecting through here. Now you'll notice issues with this with the contours. Now I've overshot the aisle there, and that's not a problem. We just click on it this way and it will override it. So the important message here is that you can only have one arrow per hole. You can have multiple arrows, multiple ends from a hole. So in this case here, I can keep clicking all the way around. Here I can have as many starting points, but I can only have one ending point, which is one detonator. So that's how it works, this application. So you never need a undo button. So we just click through here like this. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I probably picked the biggest, a bigger blast than what I should have done for this example. Alright, pretty simple there, really useful. Now the contours are taking into account all the holes at all the time, so these back holes are considered 0, so there's a steep drop off through here in three-dimensional space, in the time space, and so that always shows a odd looking contour until the blast is completed. Alright, let's a good color there, and I'll just show you that by clicking on the contours, and we can see here this drop off that I was talking about. But on the whole, our timing contours are pretty good through what we've tied in, and this bit is obviously not connected yet. These are all zeros. So we'll go back to the ties and just keep going with these, and we're nearly done. Very, very simple. I'm just doing a very simple V, not thinking about it too hard, but you can do anything you like, obviously within the reason of what suits the mine site, what suits the blasting application or the quarry. I find that it's quicker on an iPad, which is great because I didn't really envisage that. But yeah, it's still not a great amount of time to complete a tie-up, even though the clicking could be sped up, and I think that will be my next thing. I'll be working on several things next, but one of them will be to improve the speed of connections, because I see that being a bit of a not a bottleneck, but a bit annoying for people if they have to click on so many buttons. Here we go. Here's another example of what I was mentioning before with the colors. We want to add another 42, so you just click in the middle of the arrow, and as long as you've set the times correctly, you'll be good. 25s. And aiming for that red. And rightio, here we have all the connections done. We'll turn on the delay so we can see the delay. I've zoomed in so that it's better for the TV and better for the screen, but these are quite crisp at normal at 100%. And so now we can turn that off there, and we can see all the connections, and now we can turn around and look at the contours, and we see these lovely contours. Couple of kinks where our angled holes are, but on the whole it's pretty good. So as you go through this, if you want to see a problem with timing, then you can experiment with the contours. You can learn a bit. We can see it it bending through here as we slow the time down on the burden echelon. And so this is essentially the application and all its features. So the only other thing we need to think about is how do we keep it? As we use this application, there might be times that we need to save, but there's no save button. So if we make a mistake, we don't have any recourse. So the only way to save is to click this output button, and down here in our downloads we get our output, and we can open that CSV up, and we can see what we've got here is our whole number, and our whole number over here, our XYZ, our toe XYZ, all these are new coordinates, and the from holes, the delays, and the colors. Pretty easy. So that is as simple as it gets. That's a bit of a rundown. Here's the Excel conversion tool if you need that to convert holes length and bearing and angle into toe XYZs. And I have 3 files for download if you're interested in those, so that you can get them and test the program out, and you can have a look at the file and see what it's like. That's the application, and I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you use it and find good use for it. Here we have it looking good in the dark mode, and we can also print this out. Now the printing is just through your browser. So if you're printing and you want to print this out, you can do it through your browser just by going over here and print, and you will get a bit of a preview when it comes up. The key here is that you might want to turn off the background objects and the headers and the footers so that you get the maximum amount of space. But essentially, that's not a bad output. Or you can take a screenshot and paste it into something. Yeah, but on the whole, that's it. I'll improve the printing functionality in the future, hopefully, and we'll have more and more features to use. So I'll just cancel that. Right. Well, I hope that was enjoyable enough, and you've seen what it is to do a tie-up and to use the tools that are new to it. So hopefully this has been enlightening for you, and stay posted, and I seriously suggest that you go, if you desire to, if you want to help a person out, and if you desire to, then go over and read some of my articles in Buy Me a Coffee. I put all my articles there that I write and anything that I do over the years. There's not a lot there. I'm slowly building it up. There's a few little bits and tips and tricks on how to use Vulkan lavas to get a Service Manager geofence, and pretty simple stuff. I mean, obviously they're just simple lavas. You can do that just by the simple ASCII export in that program. But I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you find use for this application in your lives, at least in terms of education and getting you out of a bind. And thank you very much for watching.